Hope a dearth. The anxiety of codes from bypassers, thinking no one speculates, no relates. All peeps here do. In New York, a place of understanding. Silent, mutual, never spoken. No allegiance. Game of prayer and relief from the game at home. A hovel, a big apartment, whatever. Best home is this natural, urban landscape. Faith. In the search of all tears down the pipe. Summoning is involved. I fear I will not do my home justice, so speak honestly. Speak, for all us do not feel the martyr system. Realize what must be done to portray this amazement in imagery. To see it as a painting, made up of impressions, characters, ghosts. Everyone whispers under their breath. What you choose to hear is the vibe. All the things have been buildings. Reaching what? But that's found in accusation. Or the relief of someone letting you know they hear you. And this, for years. Towards the plain wonder. Towards the faith in the wonder. Towards wonder at large. That's the force in the pendulum. That's the cacophony. That's the source of this conundrum. That's the faith. Peeps raw. Peeps dead.
Flagging.
Burning with tears too hungry to spew.
But
I like my soldiers.
Placing
smokes. But
shit.
now I have love. Again, confidence in the rhetoric of New York.
I don't even know what I'm saying anymore.
The dropping rain like
but
a blast
I
over
hope
the chasm of
there
various
is something.
skies, various hinted well springs, various dirigibles of motion.
And maybe
but how
if
is
I
it that I
tried,
lose control like I used to? How
I
can that
could
be
create
anything? Personages walking along.
Justice.
Tell them to walk along the brick. Tell them
For the
unknowingly.
place
You can speak yourself to yourself.
that
You can
cannot
light up the
be come
poetry
upon.
of this place. Perhaps I just need a brief
And
outline.
only
now.
when I am there
The way one sketches a coronation
shall
out
I
of
hand the
blueprints.
torch
And maybe the sensitive trappings
back to
out
the
of the
father.
ill light linger in some Morse code. Some charity towards the wealth of people at large. The wealth of everyone. Whatever self. As their head would put it, contrives not out of speaking their lingo. Their own comfort of personal knowledge, of commune. And no space here, no space but my own lingo. The lover, my own. The lingo, my own. No charity, no case of it. No it in the God of here. It's in the haze of the skies I look up at to avoid perhaps a shapely S, which I find more intriguing anyway. The skies there.
Yeah, it's recording, man. It's recording?
transcendence that is really us,
I mean,
harkening
it was
back
this place gave us love, right?
to a time before a fall from grace.
The world has always remained
meant
vengeful to
anything.
be wild again, to dance
It
again.
still doesn't.
Return to some deepness too deep for tears to ignore.
One can't combine who they are with who they were
Old people,
without losing an ideal of time that is always recurrent anyway. That we shed our layers by the moment,
themselves farther into the
not the
old
minute.
psyche of 2 points.
No negation,
The
no
old and really
ennui, no listlessness.
Of course.
Pure intensity
All
is the
started
simple
from some
feeling
elements
here.
of purity.
It is the artistic swerve,
What became of us besides the
and it is
snapshot
the ultimate
taken from
sense
afar?
to get us to a
Even
timeless
from the
reason.
length of time.
Time.
This ripple from
When we
our
do not look at
essence.
our watch.
Question.
Instead,
Surprising. Considerably
mesmerized.
proportionate, though.
And this surely is no
ultimately meaningless
fancy,
events.
but for the fancies of
Stacked like
intellect,
fucking cards atop themselves to
ceaseless,
play the game of
obstinate questioning,
the ultimate game.
telling us why we should feel
First
such
people,
and such
and
a
I
way.
don't mean the Jewish for once.
Don't be
Something is
scared,
to be meant.
the philosopher says of his
Between
abstraction.
Branches of
It is as much a reach inward
picture
as
of the
out.
moon. Between a sky for meaning to
And no
return to
posture.
them's wild places mentioned, from whence it was rifted to a mocking, brightly starred. As if to heave out water from lungs already filled enough to yawp the names in a fluid for the Hudson to transgress with, an inspiration looking like gulls on trash. Such a thing to do, and so done by the lightest fanfare of a prophetic lie. Too prophetic even, in being a lie. Great winks of cranes, multifold and eternity. Wildflowers gall shaking. That public masochism of a city.
I've become another man.
White greatness. Just enough to jingle like repetitive
There's a
hell.
lot more for me to
on the
do here
Victrola.
than live life in.
Shit.
And wait beyond it.
Wake! The culture!
Other people ask to
Why
come
don't
back
ya?
when I might pass away.
I mean, this place, our gifted home, is it not a culture of
These
awakening?
words,
And
enough
not
to
by
stave my
words.
pain,
Possessive words the most because words
enough
possess.
to show off speculation.
Possess whatever meaning they pull off, or no
So
part of
then
it.
spare the dry ensign
By
of
some
my
paying
one
of to
epitaph
those who
sent
read a
me
word of unity too much the greater sin, a sin of a keeping of what something
reliant
was. But savages are sinful,
on
right?
ineffectual.
They who knew the land, not even theirs to give, gave to our breath a new intelligence of primitivism.
Alright guys, I'm gonna go sing.
For us to bloody out with sleeves already weighed in the heart.
What is your
How?
problem?
From nowheres in the night.
Don't be like,
Well,
I'm
yeah.
gonna go soon.
Paint and pale your face.
Like,
I'd
obviously
rather
you're gonna
paint
go soon.
it
You're
for
gonna go
war
after I
and
finish
leave it
making this fucking
polymorphously
list.
fucking perverse
But not before I
by too much
finish.
loveliness to not
I'm gonna go
intoxicate
outside, so.
Can you just
And as
wait?
if prompted by
It will literally
those
take
artificial
2
Europes
seconds.
argue the piss and shit out of life from
1,
by their own
2.
Oh my god.
slowly,
Go outside.
slowly arguing away the stink of life to dribbles on some passion anyways started all wrong,
I can do that, I guess.
wrong by the native logic of those native to wherever place came some dogged needfulness to cure indeed as well for us the painted people first before then spaces in branches garishness precedes reason anyway snapshot
Okay, that's all I
that's
need.
how people
Come
cure
sit
them
next
pale
to me.
faces with feathers and beads for bread. And as always, a wild unity of all of man, you know, is there, was there, before man, before a gender named the wild. To reap us, or to reap from the tears we shed all the water. Come, enjoy this music. With me, love. Know that I love thee in thine breathy ways, breaths as tears, tears full of water, so much as to each rid of water as of water from the lungs.
Accounts
and both supple as breaths.
Paraphrase.
Perhaps the first ones in of air,
The-
most air, all flooded with
deadliest
drops of wicked life.
Life.
A wicked life of wicked meanings, cantillated pornography.
On isolated fact.
As if it all were choir, perhaps.
There's only providence by which
Fit
to
for the
map my
bounds
seasons
see
to the grave.
well enough
I'll surely clarify the
for the
desperation
strophes to sing it all back to the blueprint of bullshit.
to whoever rumpled cleric finding
Give him a
this
chance. Will ya?
in rumpled sheets.
Just pry open what it means to be poor.
Out of mind.
To be poor,
The risk
Poor
of
of spirit,
trauma is
swift
my
of mind.
tyranny.
Mindful of what
Your
it means to
liable
be
steps
alive
of
in
an
spirit.
unsent
Swiftly,
telegram.
like a thing that is behind you.
One day be
Like
of
a
no
horse
substance.
quickening step, beyond the redness of the
Lest
mane.
his brain matter.
The mane of it, the animal, the temple,
Yet alive
dancing,
to
the simple dancing.
wreak
throne.
my death.
Give us
rip.
this. Give us this
Will I
hate,
be a thing mentioned?
this the hate.
Yeah.
And see your voice, perhaps,
Spelt from the corners
rise
of the
out up the ruin from a
mouth.
ruin,
Blase,
lesser ruin.
forgotten.
Perhaps you know blues.
Dim.
Perhaps you know the
negated
bluesy
creature.
blueness of tears. How angry
shall I
that
liken
the
my
tears
keeps to
are when they
leaves
bleed
that
from bullshit
fail
Mary's
to stand.
sarcophagus. They shed themselves dry and
Soon
even shed
betrothed.
the dryness from remarks.
And as
even
soon divorced,
casual.
No matter
Remembrances
what.
in place.
to rant away in wilderness. Is
Remembrances
fine.
only in
brush.
places. Place
Stick.
names. See?
Inherently
Slowly.
the part of what makes
Aggression rises out of its own frustrated
Negro
need to remain succinct.
and die,
As if one waked the wrong
an
day.
inching from the
The
birth of
wrong
nature.
voice.
Come
The
upon
wrong
again towards a
picture to
bleakness
frame
of
it.
withering
In modern sensibility.
and more.
Literature is anachronistic. Snapshot.
For one
And
to
on the
feel
figuration goes, uncaring into the heat of its
darker
mane, goes the aforementioned
seasons.
horse. Bye-bye! And way beyond, out to some faceless
Both
master too,
unfolding
respected to be horse and
as a
still be heard
rose
aright.
down
The
past.
Whitman, God, more than willing to oblige.
And yet soon shattering the callous.
The Elliot God somewhat
that
busy with
pretty
his
thing,
taking toast and tea,
the forming,
thumbing through his calendar
unity,
before bullshit
unity, homeostasis
young Europe's at whatever time,
of the
where
stuff
yeah,
that nature
pound
gives.
might just well have
Justly loosen
chimed.
up the mind.
Tweak the invisible
As
antenna,
rascally
you
as it
fattest. Yada yada yada.
The
Illusion.
descent of that mind.
Illusion. One in the difference.
Tragedies
you
mingling.
say. Har har.
To great
Well, you are
disguise.
right, my dear
And
friend.
soon
Har
ascends
har indeed, Dan
the
God.
black of being.
Probably you laugh at God, laughing
One's
at
left
the
upon at
words.
the
Knowing
whim
him, you're him.
of
Really
humor's
laughing at yourself and at
no
all
matter
and
how
every rhythm
fine
of whatever
the
complexes, conundrums.
There's in this presently blackened
Serious all
sky
the
a
while.
gauge of feeling by the tick.
Being
top.
serious all the while.
Yeah. The
Of course,
point
in an attempt to
mint.
hate to laugh,
of a blurred
Quite the
indefinite
bummer.
psyche.
Elliot God.
Dependent
Moving on. I
on
move
the
while you do
weather's
it.
perch.
Yeah, sniggering at the
Deliciously.
coattails myself that you
One
heard
views their
to a
stock
desired
of faith,
relic.
as if in
Yes,
the vague
irritating drops
demarcations
of rain
of
on
bleak
breathing
sky.
cave. For
One might assume
what
as
tailed the
similar as
feckin'
tarot
coat?
cards
filled with nice
Yeah.
things, but not ever with
of
bread.
their own
The coat
motley
that stole a god herself,
life
and for herself to
and
drape.
mine.
Her choice to drape in
Might
colors
see
for the
this
world
in
to
the
marvel
briefer
over in the
marking
struggle.
off of
To
day,
both marvel and not
with each
dissect.
hammered.
Whatever sort of
Like a
bygone contemporary
yet
vehicle of
in dirt.
remembrance you fuel.
Across this ghostly
None beats the
stretch
fuel of
of
knowing your own coffin.
So the
If only
meager
for a
month
short time long ago.
move on
And I the Whitman you want?
from that short Eden.
Is this what you expected,
into
dear boy?
winters, when the soul seems
A
in
life
gradual
without
change,
gods, without relics.
an
Sanest
alien,
thing to me is that,
Yeah.
after all. Stephen
Island.
belched the words for me a
and
while.
at once
You know, made no
Mhm.
god but in the valves on the
Unchecked.
surface of the moon, opening down after all blame to a world of orphans. What have you? What
the
have
frigid
remembrance
change to
of
frigid
literary,
words and practical
literary
senses
snapshots, you know,
dominant.
each shot a snap at death when all the
Changes
words are
from
words.
stars
As all
to
words are
diverse
but the
haze,
play you make of.
nimble sex,
Over a
drifted,
Shakespearean end to the
rife
rag.
with humid yellow
That's his
pollen,
own pornography.
some
Pornography
greasy
itself
wonder,
being a punctuation of the chaos,
with remembrance of that
illusion,
fleeting gleeful
snapshot,
thing,
all
brought
from
back
afar, as if it were
from out
a
the
different person
atmosphere,
you bothered to make into an ever different picture.
like
Oh,
as
the
a
sadness
pen
of us
jet,
all, even the painted ones, the ones with a
and from
face
whence
at
all
all,
suddenly turned to winter,
in need of no identity
hardness,
but in the
fleshless
listless woods wild. Who?
to
Yes.
wheeze.
Good
and a
thing they
damaged
have an
heart.
identity that could match up the
One
gallop of a mane with
embittered
each studded gallop.
by some crudity life gave.
Concrete, an open mind, abstract, a wizening too soon for youth. Yeah, this little hell with a splice of morality and death is righted by its clarifying sussing, as if making the cheek the deck of cards. And of course the wind to flood and pitiful lungs no wasteland, not here but in humanity. Humanity the wasteland. Sensitive, anti-Semitic, racist. And a slapdash too roundly. The pounding too goddamn hard. At least he has his Olga and her acts of beauty. Dash by the verbal fields, with verbs to a place and corollary, with an entrance and circumscription in the speed, with speed across an elementary field. Obvious field. Made us like denuded nature. Made us like to be nothing less than what it is. Was meant to be in that molecular whistle. That owner in his place. Master, owner, in their places. And you say shifting his plumy tail once settled at the lawn, his reins begin to dab sheafs of illegitimate grass beneath the hedge. And the hedge
sure there's some dialect
field
to this that I could
drops of
figure out.
grain, and the grain grass, just grass, and each spear across
could
all the
know.
forsaken earth. A
Would it
claimant,
make me feel any
already
better?
claimant, plucked, already taken by some crotch rot
So what?
motherfucker, bothering to take his mistress Beatrice bullshit once his own snapshot that she probably never
Just
saw.
be
And by seeing, I mean remembered. I'm sure the birdie fellow would give up half his elegies to drift off to see the death-feeding men's women crossing opposites in Brooklyn, home to Brooklyn, and her never to be seen again, I guess. Never to be
So
seen again.
fucking
Once
small.
held in this giant
I'm feeling so fucking insignificant and loving.
all of his held
that
by force,
beauty.
the solution is articulate,
No.
panic,
That I've lost.
liberty, sex,
That makes me
not
who I
any self that takes
am.
slave or slaves to come to drive their own machines of blinking grief.
Lost.
Water bottles made
Feeling
of
of
lungs
loss.
welled up to dry, voices dry,
Inspiration that
sky.
I rest.
Vehicular as horses on the
Life
stream.
now
So what of Whitman?
comes at me all
So
crooked
what is
and
what?
done up.
So what if WCW wants to photograph his heartland
Miserable.
from afar? As in from Staten Island?
It's just a stance.
I suppose he thought his own
It's
voice
just
would rise enough from shadows.
Stand.
As in seeing words on the
Standing
page and
and
taking
looking
the
up
page
and
to
trying
speak
not
to
to
in
shake.
a fastidiousness. It's
Seeing
a
all the universe
meaning marvelous.
before your eyes.
And still, the brain
Bring
splits
you
open
down.
some irrelevant machinery to trip us out of truer space through
And then all of a sudden you realize you really had You struggle for sincerity. You struggle for meaning. You struggle to find things out.
The gay as if it for the first time was
Fucking why?
I hear those kind of
Fucking
glimpses
why?
of space.
At it all.
And tiny bowels of each what?
Even now I'm
You?
on a stage.
What, my dear owns you?
There's this time I could figure
What feels this
by the peripherals of my eye people look like puppets. And I wondered if some grand creator maybe even the most fluid gesticulation
No, all in the
most
words.
dynamic
No words to
movement.
barricade
be truncated,
the feeling of a
two-dimensional.
weakened sort, a medley
feelingless.
An obnoxious reason.
Then I wonder.
Each them feeling all the
Then I wonder, will this trip to London change anything with me and my sister? No, it fucking won't.
When I suck my primitive cross-hedged by some declaration and nods and screws.
They've been raving about it all night.
Paraphrase mumble.
Kicking my ass
Table.
away.
Yes, a table exiled, mumbling at a furniture.
So fuck everybody.
A whisper of our time on the heist of work.
Fuck me for thinking I
What
could
talks you
look up
into
and
dreaming
think I was
nightmares
doing
night?
anything but tearing myself
There would
apart.
be sob and lose the ruling over you. I would have had all this time. Tenderest, the moment's tenderest. The breathing sad, hard, yes, with doggedness, yet doubt. And the doubt keeping you haggard enough to even rest
Hello?
that wholesome, vibrant
Guys?
newness on small,
I am
perfectly spaced facts.
In Charlotte, actually. At the moment.
I forgot where we
I am seeing my...
you led me there. I forgot from where led this question. You led me there.
What kind of
You led me
knowledge
there with your eyes.
there is
Quieted me with looks big as the
regarding
Atlantic.
jazz? It's mostly to do with its
Remember when I led you
vacillation,
there?
its modular
Remember
growth
when I said
and
how it was
development
like
through improvised
the
notes.
less of looking at you.
Indeed,
How hope bled sorry bled out of spirit.
improvisation is the staple of any great jazz recording. And moreover, is something to
Who
be
fucking cares? Yeah?
respected in any art
Shall
form
we froze
because
the
it
bedspread?
denotes the human
Keep our
capability to
bad
triumph
dreams in
in the
line.
face of
Care
formlessness.
for the other as a way to
to,
block others out, not
achieve
them
a
who's
sort
good
of
enough
nirvana
to
without
give
the
a
need for
stare momently to this
prior
lackluster king of
rules or
lackluster places.
demarcations.
Only you light them up with the sun.
This is how I
I am
believe
like you
the
said.
human brain works.
Yeah.
The decisions
I
we
am
make
there.
are not based on the luck
I
of
only
the draw,
hope you
but
notice a reflection of
split-second
yourself.
toiling of the synapses
If only by
to
being
produce
drawn
a
in by my
decision
own
that
fucking eyes enough to
flowers
observe the
into an action.
entirety
We do not
of your face.
deliberate
the-
much when it comes to those
See the
simple
forgiveness.
species of thought that
Know
govern
me,
most
you.
of the actions we
I
commit
guess all
to
my
in our
poems about
daily
you
lives.
that. But
Indeed,
whatever.
we just do it.
If only I
In
get
a
you
way,
to
we are
see yourself
improvising,
well.
striding through
Even if
life
only by
minute
you
to minute,
seeing my muddy brown
pursuing
eyes
one
well, and by
action
default
after
seeing
another
your
with
own
an
in them
almost
as well.
sublime fluidity that, just as with
Give me the courage
improvisation
to
and
undertake
jazz,
the
will
whole of
every
your fair
once
spirit.
in a while be
Soulish
flawed, but
one.
at the same
Yes.
time will bring
As
us
much of a
great
soul as one could be a
opportunities
soul.
and life
Keep me
experiences.
close,
Importantly, and all these
and you will see your
everlasting
fairness in my eyes.
processes of life move soundlessly and automatically within the intricate conurbations of one's head. Decision after decision is made in our daily lives, seemingly without much deliberation. It is instinctual, visceral, just as Coltrane's music was instinctual, visceral. However, this is not to say that we do not think before we act. In point of fact, this is all we are doing all day long. And what makes such a thing sublime is that every task, whether it be piddling or momentous, provokes the same endlessly complicated toil in our brains, just in different areas, depending on the task. The thing is, if one were to elaborate upon and build up a certain set of principles / factors, when it came to such easy cognitive behaviors as making coffee in the morning, it would take hours for us to come to any sort of conclusion at all, instead choosing to dwell eternally on how best to grind the beans. It is that power of improvisation in the mind that keeps us moving, acting, thinking, because one's mind to them cogitates in a rather simple manner. Everyone has this view of their mind, must have this view in order to get through mundane trivialities, sending a letter, making breakfast, engaging in small talk. The loose weave of our lives in reality is not so loose, not so simple. It is that same improvisation that brings form to the void and elucidates the idea within the barriers of one's own intelligence without a need at all for previous reasoning. In other words, we come to immediate conclusions and weave them seamlessly, seemingly thoughtlessly into the bits of our day until by the time we go to bed, There's another film of comprehension over the mind, a newer and freer clarity to the world. We're always learning, whether in school or not. Our own personal progress seems intangible, almost non-existent. It is the speed of the mind that makes all this seem simple, and such an accelerated process deceives us into thinking we haven't changed at all, because the transition from one level of understanding to another is near seamless, just as the transition from tenor to piano. Like jazz, the unforgiving speed of one's mind, speed of the mind's ability to make connections out of ambivalence, to utilize and compress those fathoms of understanding into a simple shake of the hand, are incomprehensibly fluid, easy. Meanwhile, I save all those beautiful, complex thoughts for a time when I am unsatisfied with the quotidian and must turn my ideas inward, upon themselves, and outward, to the limits of a limitless universe. So, this idea of complexity being a matter of volume rather than substance, you know? See, the thing is, we need to think that thinking is easy in order to think. The people who think that thinking is hard are stupid, or retarded, or something. Moreover, if we were to realize how much goes into each thought we have, and still have that perspective of that thought as being something simple, what then? Because those are two conflicting views of the same thing, you know? I mean, I guess what I mean is, once you observe, I don't think that's possible, because once you observe something, there's this idea in psychology that once you observe something, the observation in itself becomes a change, because there's an added layer to it. You know? I look at the mind as being something like an endless series of steps. You know? Like there's always something we're there's always some unconscious reasoning that, if it were to go a few steps above, would be conscious, and then somehow would lose its fluidity. I mean, I don't know. Just my opinion. My stupid opinion. Shit. I need to stop being so goddamn self-deprecating, because some of these are interesting ideas to me, and I guess it's that I just think that because they're interesting to me, they're not going to be interesting to anybody else. And I don't know why I think that. That's kind of skewed logic. But, nonetheless, I'll read one more thing, just because it relates to this. It's given the odd title, Less Than Lip. I lord myself over the instinct, and suddenly it is no longer reflexive. And I penetrate the cursory pretense of action to find that no action can be without first following a brigade of prerequisites. My thought used to billow freely while still hustling my consciousness, like a sleeping gravity suspended us in competence. However, the sky collapsed, and air became form that fell, a lapse in the magic, a freak disturbance of an absent purpose. And afterwards, no, speaking spoke to inner mind. Words, thrown tennis ball against brick wall, back again. Instinct becomes ambivalence, not working properly, too choosy, and it chooses often foolishly, perhaps halfway wrong and quarter ways right, and 3 ways neither, awed by the provocative of some other importance, moving me the way I had wished. But it is the other that moves, that levitating spirit of blood, risen to a scarlet curious than more than my endeavors ever could. The bodiless become the body furious, after which I am forgotten. To fix this, I seek and castigate a lesser soul, in the hopes I belittle that scrap into less than lip. Whatever is below me squirms under my heat, rather like an ant. Then it is brought down, down in a hole to nestle its humiliation within shunt of dominance, and I bathe in the falls of my redemption. The water soothes the skin. I see myself, miles away, somewhere peaceful, somewhere dark and peaceful, left to let my head bloom into service. And here's the argument. I closely examine my instinctual nature, and it becomes no longer instinctual. I realize that every action under the guise of something that arrives and departs with nominal simplicity has deceived me. Each movement, physical and otherwise, each thought, no matter how simple, is nonetheless the result of a fusion of smaller and vague actions and reactions, leading within the divide of a millisecond to profounder shadows, eking through small cracks in the mind more clearly, but at a darker stage, a stage of crucial shadowiness. I used to possess consciousness that, though acute, did not prevent me from living my life. I could realize certain intimate natures of myself and remain disaffected, not a part of the thinking, though indeed I thought it. And it was almost as though a sleeping gravity or an almost premeditated control kept me from fully dismantling the structure of thought to meaningless, minuscule particulars. That is, until unknowingly I became snared in a kind of mental apocalypse, in uncovering the absence of purpose and of meaning to be found in the gestures of this trackless reality, this communication between the brain and what it sees. In uncovering some such absence, I found myself no longer able to speak within my mind. Zero anterior monologue, just a bunch of space, as though my mind at a principle did not wish to think, if any result from it indicated something born out of senselessness. I still needed to think, but the manner of thought was repetitious, like a rubber ball thrown and over again, thrown against a wall. This instinct once noticed, therefore, gives me the freedom to defer from it. In this freedom, I know also that any product of instinct is done the right way. So then the freedom I had was merely to follow other false paths. Instinct becomes hit or miss, basically. Still, however, there is something I cannot repress, something that remains unconscious no matter what I do. But it is expressed in another, a ghost who lives a level up from me, taking the place I once had, that balanced area between the dull brain and the sharp brain. This ghost lives my passions for me and my hindrances and gains. Soon, I fear I will be forgotten completely. This ghost, this vacant version of what once was me, becomes less and less vacant as my will to go on becomes something less and less urgent. I cannot defeat the ghost above me. He is better than I am, more fluid and stronger. So then I look down into the great vacuity and find a weaker soul below me and steal his own instinct for myself. Just as the great ghost above had probably done to me, he too becomes a shell, just as I had been. All he does must now be filtered through me. In turn, I appraise what I am given and suck the energy out of it, before the choice in question is left to create unfortunate scenarios that would, if the weaker specimen continued to perpetuate bloom throughout different parts of the existence of the weaker specimen, into confusing though ultimately primal maladjustments of both mind and body. However, the weaker specimen, the lesser soul, does not continue and remains wholly static. I am redeemed by him and can go on living. However, I am still sucking the marrow from an insufficient bone. Just as the stronger ghost, the soul above me, will be plagued by my own insufficiency. Still, I wait for my head to again bloom into service, so that that very ghost above, who robbed me of my own instinct, will no longer receive fodder for the survival of his own psyche. I will have defeated him by feeding on the weaker specimen, and deriving a weaker consciousness that nonetheless can exist, confident that the nullity and inaction I was subject to for so long would not return. So, you know, there it is.